Lorraine sat alone at a small cafe table, staring into a cup of coffee she hadn't touched in nearly an hour. The steam was gone. So was the warmth. Just like her job. She had finally said it. After months of humiliation, endless overtime, and a supervisor who treated her like she was disposable, Lorraine snapped. She told him exactly what she thought of him. Every word she had swallowed for years came out in seconds. He fired her on the spot. Now she was here jobless, exhausted, and terrified. As a nurse, she had spent her life caring for others. But no one had prepared her for the fear of living paycheck to paycheck with nothing left to fall back on. Rent, bills, groceries. The numbers kept looping in her head. She rubbed her temples, barely noticing the elegant cafe around her, the wicker chairs, the glass tables, the carefully arranged flowers. None of it mattered. Her coffee had gone cold, and so had her hope. Then a quiet voice broke through her thoughts. "Excuse me, miss. Would you mind if I had the rest of your coffee, if you're not drinking it?" Lorraine looked up, startled. A man stood in front of her. His clothes were worn, his hair unkempt, his face tired in a way that spoke of long nights and longer days. It didn't take much to understand he was homeless. "Oh, yes," she said quickly, embarrassed. "I wasn't going to finish it anyway. Please sit." He thanked her softly and took a seat, wrapping his hands around the cup like it was something precious. "It would have been better hot," he said with a small smile, "but it's still good. Thank you. I'm Jeffrey." "Lorraine," she replied. For a moment they sat in silence. Then Jeffrey looked at her gently. "I don't mean to intrude," he said, "but you look like someone carrying a heavy day." Something in his voice, calm, sincere, made her walls crumble. "I lost my job today," she admitted. "I'm a nurse. My boss pushed me too far. I talked back, now I'm fired. And honestly, I don't know how I'm going to survive." She stopped herself, glancing at him. "I'm sorry, that probably sounds ridiculous coming from me." Jeffrey shook his head. "Pain doesn't compete," he said. "Everyone carries their own weight." His words surprised her. Feeling an unexpected gratitude, Lorraine stood and ordered him a sandwich and 2 fresh coffees. It cost more than she should have spent, but for the first time that day, it felt right. They talked about life, about mistakes, about how easy it is to lose everything and how hard it is to stay kind anyway. At one point, Jeffrey laughed and said, "If I were your boss, I'd show up in a limo and hire you myself." Lorraine laughed for the first time all day. When they left the cafe, he walked behind her, keeping his distance. "If people see us together," he said quietly, "they might judge you." Lorraine stopped, turned around, and took his hand. "I don't care what they think," she said. "You listened when I needed it most. That's all that matters." Jeffrey's eyes filled with tears. That night, Lorraine fell asleep still worried, but for the first time, not completely alone. She had no idea that by morning everything was about to change. Lorraine barely slept that night. Anxiety crept back in the moment the apartment fell silent. The same questions circled her mind again and again. How long could she last without a job? What if she lost everything? Just as dawn broke, a sharp sound cut through the quiet. The doorbell. Lorraine jolted upright. Her heart raced as she pulled on a sweater and opened the door. Standing there was a sharply dressed man in a tailored suit. Behind him, parked neatly along the curb, was a black limousine. "Good morning, Miss Simpson," the man said politely. "My name is Stewart. I'm here to take you to my employer." Lorraine stared at him, stunned. "I think you have the wrong address." "I don't believe so," he replied calmly. "You're Lorraine Simpson, correct?" Her confusion turned to fear. She grabbed her phone, already opening the emergency dial screen, and stepped into the car carefully. The limousine rolled through the city before stopping in front of one of the most prestigious medical clinics she had ever seen. That's when she saw him, Jeffrey. But not the man from the cafe. He stepped forward in a crisp suit, confident, composed, unrecognizable from the figure who had asked for her cold coffee the day before. Lorraine froze. Jeffrey smiled gently. "I owe you an explanation." Inside his office, he told her the truth. He wasn't homeless. He was a renowned psychologist and medical director conducting a long-term social experiment. He disguised himself to understand how people treated those they believed had nothing. "Most people look away," he said. "Some show pity. Very few show respect." He looked at her. "You showed kindness, without knowing who I was, without expecting anything." Jeffrey explained that when he listened to her speak, he didn't hear desperation. He heard strength, compassion, integrity, "I need someone like you on my team," he said. "Not just as a nurse, but as someone who understands people." Lorraine's hands trembled as tears streamed down her face. The job offer wasn't charity, it was earned. That morning, Lorraine walked into a new chapter of her life, one built not on luck, but on humanity. And somewhere in the city, a cafe chair sat empty, a cold cup of coffee long forgotten, marking the moment everything changed. Because sometimes kindness doesn't just come back to you, it comes back and rewrites your entire future.